Welcome to Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Ernest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your podcast listening platforms. Also, make sure you guys are checking us out on our YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where not only will you find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but you will also find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is our partner podcast. So make sure you guys go and check us out there. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, which is our new YouTube channel. Also, our podcast is brought to you by our new Deal to Heal School community. Our Deal to Heal School for Living community is now up and active. You guys can go and check it out. You guys know our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. And so we started this community in order to bring you workshops that work directly with that mission. We got workshops on forgiveness, workshops on grief, workshops on different topics that help you better your life. So make sure you guys go check that out. You can scan the QR code in the upper corner, and that is 7 days free. The first 7 days is free, so you can go and check it out and see if you like it. And also, if you do like it, you can also become an affiliate and earn some income when you invite others to join as well. So again, that's the Deal to Heal School for a Living, which is up and running now. And you can always just hit the QR code in the corner. So that being said, today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Miss Kerry. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you are here with me and my listeners, and I definitely appreciate it. So we're going to jump right into this thing. Kerry, do me a favor, introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
I am Kerry Blaser, the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and I only figured that out a year ago, and I'm 55 now. So how did it start? I was raised in Southern California, and I had a traumatic childhood. My parents got divorced when I was 6. I had a job when I was 12, even though I lived in a wealthy town and my dad was wealthy. I started a 6-year career at Hot Dog on a Stick when I was 14. But when I graduated, I was making double minimum wage, and I bought my own car and went off to college. So I got a degree in East Asian religious studies. I speak Chinese. I met my ex-husband in Tibet, and he is Israeli. And we have 3 kids. And so we got married when I was 25. We were married 10 years. I got divorced when I was 35. And then my 40s hit, and I started getting multiple migraines per week. I was on trazodone and Klonopin. I couldn't sleep. I was on Soma and Ambien. I couldn't even go out in the sun for 2 years. I was just so sensitive. I was just so overwhelmed that I didn't know how to process my emotions. You know, in my childhood, I learned to repress everything and not process everything. Then on my 45th birthday, my mom passed away. And while, yes, it was sad, it was also her soul's way of saying, wow, we have your birthday together and we have my death day together, which is very intimate for souls. And that was the day my psychic gifts told me, accept your psychic gifts. And I was in, you know, also told me heal from your childhood trauma. And that's where my book starts, My Inner Heroine.
All right, and we're definitely going to get into the book. So I want to go back, right? I want to go back because you mentioned a lot of things, a couple of things, right? So I want to go back to, you said you had a troubled kind of childhood, traumatic
Yeah.
childhood, and now with you working with women and helping them to find their inner heroine. Here, I can't even pronounce that right.
Heroine, yeah.
I want to say heroin, but I'm like, I don't think that's what
heroine. Yeah. Heroes and heroines. In my book, there's 6 heroes, and I'm the heroine.
Right. Okay. Great. So even with that, with the book itself and going through the transformation that you send, you know, the women through in order to find their greater self, how did that start with you? Like, what was kind of your traumatic? I know you said traumatic childhood, but like, what was one maybe traumatic event that happened to you that now from that event has helped you kind of transform yourself, and then you even kind of use that as an example with the young ladies that you help as well?
Well, let's use rape. You know, I mean, in my book, you could see that I attracted Andrew Tate. Yeah, Andrew Tate's best friend, Justin Waller, into my life. You know, and that was all before I remembered that I had been raped. You know, I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain, which is basically my sacral chakra, my womb, you know, screaming at me, pain, pain, pain. But that's where a lot of women have pain. We store our pain where we have value, right? So women's values and our ability to reproduce and our femininity. And so a lot of women get pain in their hips. That's why yoga can be so good for women to kind of, you know, release the pain that's stored in our fascia. Because like those memories are stored in our body too. So you have to release it from the body and from the soul. So I would say, you know, just kind of accepting, you know, that my soul planned my life based on my wounds for self-improvement opportunities, because I have to surrender to the wound and go down to the fear, guilt, and shame, and then find the wisdom. And that's what gives me the energy to climb my next mountain. And there's the action, the masculinity, and then I share it and then I go back in. So having a wound so deep as like a rape wound, you know, I mean, I feared all men till I was 51 years old. That's one of the reasons I had so much anxiety, why I had a hard time sleeping, why I couldn't relax, why I was just stressed out around my kids and protecting my kids. And, you know, but I was unaware of that until 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
I had to go through a lot of layers before I was ready to face that, how painful that is. Yeah.
And so even as you begin to, you know, once, not you particularly, but even as you begin to, the young ladies that you work with, you know, that's the starting point, right? Like, all right, let's find out where that real pain is, you know, where that real, that, or should I say real pain, original, let's find out where that original pain comes from. And then now that we've identified the original pain, you know, now let's deal with that around it. What are some of the things that once you found that original pain, that now the next step, you know, what would be like one of those next steps? It's like, all right, we found the core. Now let's kind of move forward, because you mentioned about the mountain of now climbing out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so what would be like that first step? Like, oh, we found the gold. You know what I mean? Now, how do I get it up this mountain?
Right. Well, first is the surrender process, and that's the feminine process. Because, like, you know, women, we drop our handkerchief and then men decide what to do. The feminine goes first. It doesn't mean we lead, but I have to open my heart so that men can see, oh, Yes or no, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we open our hearts to our challenges? And that's where gratitude and humility comes in, because gratitude in the body naturally reduces your cortisol, naturally opens your heart, relieves stress. And then once your heart is open, that's like, heart and soul, then that's the perfect time to talk to your soul, to ask yourself, well, what lesson can I learn here? What's the wisdom I meant to learn from this challenge? Why is this happening to me? How can I improve myself? Why did I attract this challenging experience into my life? And what wisdom or knowledge can I get out of it, so I stop attracting those challenges into my life? Like, now I take challenges over the finish line. Like on my YouTube channel, someone starts, starting something, then and it's just done, because I know that if I don't take the challenge over the finish line, it's going to circle back around in my life. Like we were talking before the podcast, and you said that you had a history of attracting in, fatherless women. Okay. And that's, again, like you had to learn your lesson so that you could stop attracting that experience into your life. Like I attracted men who have multiple women. Well, why was that? I had a wound in my subconscious that I'm replaceable. So how did my soul figure out how to show that to me? Like the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. Men with multiple women, So first we had Justin Waller and Andrew Tate, and I never wanted to date with any of these guys. Like I was DMing Justin on Instagram. And then at yoga, I met 2 fire academy instructors. Like Andrew Tate was warm up for the fire department. That's saying a lot. And then the fire department was warm up for the FBI, because that took me all the way back to my guy from my childhood, JC, who is former FBI, currently the head of global security at GoDaddy. So those are the kind of men that I attract into my life. And, I had to accept that. And one thing that really helped me accept that I attract these kind of top tier men is a Winston Churchill quote, because he said, it is said that famous men are often the product of an unhappy childhood. I'm like, okay, well, that's like my childhood. So, because I asked myself, why do I need 35 years of debilitating lower back pain, failed relationships? Okay, the size of the wisdom equals the size of the wound. And I've experienced enlightenment like a plethora of times over the past 2 years. Like, so I can, enlightenment's like Mount Everest, right? So if I want Mount Everest size wisdom and knowledge, then I have to take on Mount Everest size wounds, all based on the laws of physics, because our souls are energy bodies. So that so this is like, I just like, oh, I get it now. We have to surrender before we can climb. And, you don't start surfing waves on the 70-foot wave off of Portugal. You start on the 1-foot wave, It's like, here's an example. So 8 years ago, my youngest daughter, who was, late teens, we had an argument and I was wrong. And I didn't know how to apologize to her. Like, it wouldn't come out. So I asked my subconscious, like I opened my heart and I asked, okay, so why can't I apologize to my daughter? And my subconscious said, literally, you won't apologize because you believe that if you apologize, she will leave you. I'm like, that's not logical. But in our subconscious, our wounds, they lie to us. And that's why they sabotage our lives. So, but it wasn't time. I had to, accumulate so that I could, go that far down to go that far up. Right. And so I'm like, oh, well, if I apologize, she'll want to stay. So I called her up, I apologized. And then from then on, I don't have that problem anymore, because I turned the wound into wisdom in my soul. So it's not, my soul doesn't attract it into my life to show me myself. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I like that, wound into wisdom. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. Like, you have like, your deal to heal. Like you got to deal with your pain to heal. It's similar kind of concept. You got to accept it. And then you got to process it through. And, like you're going to share below, I have a free ebook that has my 6 divine feminine self-love strategies. And appreciate, learn, forgive, appreciate, open your heart, learn, and then forgive is the first one. So it'll show you how to process your pain, and it'll show you how to let go of remorse and regret. Because if our souls are planning everything, and our souls are, have all the wisdom and knowledge of the universe, why are we regretting a lesson? You know, why do
Yeah.
we have remorse? I mean, yes, feel the emotion, but then, let it go.
Yeah, and I want to jump into the ebook in a second. But I want to just touch on two things because you mentioned first gratitude, and I think that people look over gratitude and don't acknowledge or maybe even not even recognize how important gratitude is and how much of a part it plays in your life and even in your mental health, and then the peace that you can bring into your life by just being grateful and showing gratitude for the things that has transpired in your life and the things that you want to come. Because one of the things that I've learned is there's you don't make room into your life for the things that you want if you're not appreciative for the things that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the bad experiences, right? Or even what we would call bad, because I don't even believe that there's necessarily a thing that's called bad experiences. There are some experiences that are not, may not be healthy for us, but I think in everything there's a yin and a yang, right? And every there's nothing that's all good, there's nothing that's all bad, but there's
Right.
good and bad in everything. And sometimes we may feel the bad part of it the most in the moment, but once we're able to kind of digest it, even the worst things, we can find some gratitude or something that's good that came out of it. Because even by this podcast, coming to the point of this podcast, and getting started and everything I do now, I tell people it started with my divorce, and my
Yeah.
divorce wasn't a good thing, but coming out of my divorce is when I recognized my connection with fatherless daughters,
Hmm.
which led me to the first a podcast that I was asked to be on as a guest, which led to me being asked to be on several other podcasts, which led to me starting the podcast, so
Yeah.
on and so on and so on. Right. But it
Yeah.
started with my divorce,
Mm.
which could be looked at like that's not a good thing. Like it's bad. And I would even say it was bad from an emotional standpoint because I didn't want to get divorced. But it was in that everything that I'm doing now has transpired. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So there's nothing that's all good or nothing that's all bad. There's good and bad in everything. And when we can notice and appreciate the good in every situation, we
Yeah.
open up our hearts and our lives to receive more of that. But if we can only focus on the bad thing and you always woe is me, then you open up yourself for more of that because that's what you're focusing on, and that's the thing that kind of focusing on in your life. So I think that people need to really acknowledge, begin to acknowledge and see how much gratitude plays a part. Like when you get up every morning and just being grateful that you got up, like just starting there. You know what I
Start
mean?
with
Like,
something. Yeah. Be grateful for your house, your cup of coffee, the
mhm,
bird outside, because that will slowly but surely open your heart and get you out of your head, which doesn't have the solution to your problems. Your heart, like Rumi said, follow your heart. It knows the way. Your heart and soul, that's the same thing because our souls communicate out through our
mhm,
hearts, not our brains. That's why the electromagnetic field, that's why it's a magnetic field around the heart because it attracts. But if you're blocked, then, you're going to attract blocked people. If you're unhealthy, you attract unhealthy so you can see yourself. Like I was at yoga with all these guys. Like if they're flirting with me and not asking me out, then maybe I got something to work on, you
mhm.
know? Just saying, or if
Yeah.
they're, consistently having sex with other women and it's like visible that they're having an intimate relationship. And then with married women or women in relationships or one's a dominatrix, maybe that's not the healthiest guy. And then if I'm attracted to him, then I'm not that healthy.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but those are all the hard lessons that I had to learn,
Yeah.
I had to accept myself so much. Like the fifth guy in my book is a fire captain, like 6'7", does handstands and splits at yoga, hot, and like a few years older than me. I'm like, this is so perfect. I'm a healer and da-da-da. No. He was married. Okay, married and having a relationship with the 30-year-old yoga instructor. And one of the main reasons I attracted him into my life is because I had not yet processed my whole marriage and kind of accepted that I was not healthy in my feminine lane.
Mhm.
So I attracted a man who was not healthy in his masculine lane. I was a woman being a man, so he was a man being a woman, and so then we attracted each other, and then there's the struggle. And I had to take responsibility for that. Like, if I want a healthy relationship in the future, I have to be able to stay in my feminine lane. And I know how to do that now. But he was a huge help. But I could think, oh, what a jerk, and he's married. And okay, sure, but I had my own problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, like, I ain't perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's a one of the things that's hard for us a lot of times is to accept the part that we play in everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like I said, there's no good, there's nothing that's all good or all bad. So in
Right.
every situation, there's is two sides to it. And so
Mm-hmm.
even in our relationships, yeah, we can point out everything that the other person did, but you agreed to be in that relationship. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
started with both of you. So
Yeah.
he brought something, you brought something, you know what I mean? And so I think that looking at it, um, to be able to take accountability for the part that we play in every situation, which is even one of the things I had to do, even with my divorce. And me and my ex-wife, we're great friends, right? She's actually one of my oldest friends. We got pictures of us in kindergarten. That's how
Oh, wow.
far we go back. So even kind of recently, we were having a conversation, which we have every now and then, just to talk about, because we're still friends, we can have these conversations of what went wrong in our marriage, like what did we do wrong, what could have we done better, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And having that conversation even with her, I had to acknowledge like my parts of it. But like
Yeah.
I can't just be like, oh well, you did this and you said and whatever. Like, no, I was there too,
Yeah.
and so there's a part of me that wasn't attentive enough. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That wasn't making sure that while I'm out here, and I was doing a lot of stuff then, you know what I mean? And she was supporting me. And one of the things that I took out of that was, while I'm doing whatever, I wasn't as attentive to make sure that her goals and her wants were being supported at the same time. Like, yes, I'm great. I have a wife that supported me and she's behind me, but I never took the time to actually turn around and say, what is it that you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What can I support you with? And so I had to be able to own that,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of my divorce and having these conversations that now, I have to recognize that. But I don't think that a lot of times we as people like to look at ourselves for the part that we play, especially when we feel like we're the victim. Like, oh yeah, you did something that hurt me. Like, yeah, but I'm sure there's something that happened, you know what I mean? Or there's a part that you played even in the midst of that. And I don't think we
Right.
always like to look at that.
Well, I think, I had to really look at that because I had a huge victim mindset, and that was one of the main reasons I'm so strong on we are energy bodies, we're souls having a human experience, because we accept that we're all souls.
Mhm.
Then we can ask ourselves, well, how do souls operate? And then we can get into, oh, well, Einstein can help us here because he said the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The field meaning the energy field, the energy body, and the particle meaning the body. Like epigenetics is like a new field of science that came out in the past 20, 30 years, and it's just like skyrocketing. And it means what happens before the genetics, right? Because only less than 1% of disease is caused by our genetics. So then we got to look at the field, but that's the soul. Okay. But now that we have all this science to back up the spirituality, now we can all say, okay, we're all souls. We're all the same. Now what? And so, and as a reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, we all know that the church made her a prostitute and suppressed her. And she was teaching self-love creates heaven on earth. But that doesn't go along with the church that says the cross is the only ladder to heaven. I'm like, no, that's controlling. That's not helpful. And so exploring all this, like how we came to a victim mindset. And I think when we look for a source of authority outside of ourselves, that sets us up to be subservient and victims. But if the only authority is our soul, like my soul planned everything, my whole life, my soul planned. So, and my soul knows everything. So yes, the hardship, the rape, like right now I'm not talking to my kids because we're all taking a break. Like my failed marriage, my failed relationships, I don't have a best friend. My soul planned all of that for me. So I would have an opportunity to experience enlightenment, understand who I was in the past, and help everyone heal. Has it been extremely challenging? Extremely challenging. But I'm a very complex, intelligent, robust woman. Like, I needed a huge challenge to kind of pique my interest. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies, right? It's like I speak Chinese. That's why I was in Tibet. And I need that level of kind of input to process it through to have an opportunity for growth. And so this is where, a less advanced, or a soul that's not as old as mine would take on less challenging lessons. People are looking to like communism and socialism for the solution, or like, an external God. I'm like, well, that's an external solution to an internal problem. So I only start attracting healthy things into my life, like we've talked about, when I change how I feel about myself, when I take accountability for my problems. So it's I know it's a whole different shift, but we are at the right time. Like, now is a time of self-healing that started in 2012. If you look at the Mayan calendar, that now is the time for us all to realize that we're souls having a human experience, and that I don't need anything outside of me to access divinity inside of my soul, which is enlightenment, which is an emotion. Like, I never learned that enlightenment is an emotion in college and Chinese Buddhist monasteries. It's all men, right? Yeah. But it's an expression of our soul, and our souls express ourselves through emotions. That's how, that's learning to surf the waves of life, which is also one of the lessons in my ebook. I try to keep it simple. Like, it's so complex.
Speaking of the ebook, I wanna touch on a couple of things that I've seen in it. One of them is changing the world is an inside job, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, because that kind of also reflects one of the things that I say is, you may not be able to change the world, but you can change your world.
Yes.
Right. So if you change your world, then the world around you will change. So talk to us a little bit about, changing the world as an inside job, about that concept.
So looking at emotions, right, with enlightenment being the highest vibrating emotion at 700 to 1,000 hertz. And if you want to look up the map of consciousness, it's also on my website, kerryblaser.com, by Dr. David R. Hawkins. We have energy bodies, so they can measure how the energy oscillates or fluctuates, right? So enlightenment's at the top, love is 500 hertz, courage is 200 hertz, and shame is 20 hertz. Okay, so maybe you go into shame, then you go up to courage, but then you kind of, those waves of life go up and down. And that, when you start processing those emotions in your soul, and you naturally spend more time in the courage, the love, the compassion, the enlightenment, and those are all higher vibrating energies. Other souls that, like, your soul goes out about 6 feet. So other souls that you're connected to through your heart, your loved ones, and the ones you interact with in society, are naturally benefited from your higher vibrating energy. Like, if you look at like 5 metronomes, and 2 are going super fast from the beginning, and the other ones are kind of slow. Within 1 minute, they're all going super fast, because energy naturally aligns with the highest vibrating energy. So that's why changing the world is an inside job. And I'm the only one that has sovereignty over my soul. So it doesn't really help me for another soul to forgive me. I mean, it can mirror that back to me. Mm-hmm. But if I don't internalize it and do my own work, then Jesus forgiving me doesn't matter, because I have to forgive myself. Him learning the lesson from my challenge doesn't help me. I have to learn my own lesson. That's why I'm the only one that has sovereignty over my own soul, over myself. Yeah, so I'm never a victim.
Yeah, and I think that's important for us to understand, because so many times there are things within us that we're asking to get from other people that only we can give. You know what I mean? So I do a workshop on forgiveness that I've been doing for the last couple of years, talking about forgiveness. And one of the parts that I facilitate is forgiveness of self, right? Yeah. And so I use SELF as an acronym, which stands for season of life, emotional state, limited information, and forgiveness by grace, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'll just talk about season of life, because sometimes we hold grudges against ourselves for decisions that we made that was just in a season, right? And
Mhm.
so, as finna be 50 this year, as a
Yep.
50-year-old man, there were some things that I did as a teenager that, I may be holding against myself because I'm like, dang, that was
Mhm.
stupid. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm able to recognize that it was just that season of life that I was in, I was a
Yeah.
teenager. I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? Then I can begin to forgive myself for
Yeah.
those decisions because I recognize that it was just a season. But I
Yeah.
think that a lot of times we don't take the time to really, where we're looking for people to forgive us. We're looking for people to, make things okay for us and kind of give us their approval on some of the things that we've done or didn't do. And sometimes that's just an inside job. Like, no, you have to give yourself that permission. You have to give yourself permission to be happy. You have to give
Yeah.
yourself permission to, look for the next big thing. You have to give yourself permission to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And sometimes we're looking for that validation from an outside source. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, if you start with it on the inside, then everyone else will connect with, again, like you said, that energy field. When you start forgiving yourself and giving yourself permission to live the life that you want to live, everyone around you will start feeling that when they come in connection with you, and they'll start pouring that into you, and you'll be like, oh my God, I don't remember, like I never expected this person to come into my life and add this much value. But like, yeah, because you've added the value to yourself first, and now they're
Yes.
disconnecting with it. So
Yeah.
I
We
don't think
attract
we
what we are.
oftentimes I don't think we oftentimes put that connection together.
Well, see, one thing that's happening really, it's like amazing in this podcast is, we interacted over email, but we haven't talked before. We
Mhm.
both have done work on turning our wounds into wisdom. We deal to heal, right? And we have
Mhm.
similar epiphanies. That's because all the wisdom and knowledge in my soul is also in your soul.
Yeah.
So this is why we can come to similar conclusions. We might say it a little differently,
Yep.
but it's still the same epiphany, right? Like, what you just said was how I say it is, don't turn a life lesson into a life sentence. Same concept as, forgive yourself, it was a lesson, don't turn it into forever. And so, but we all have to learn that when our soul is ready to learn that. Like my mom, when she passed away, she was still an alcoholic. It wasn't her soul's time to heal yet, right? So, but she set me up to take over as the matriarch of the family at 45, 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. And that was my time to go, okay, now it's time to change. It's time to turn my wounds into wisdom. And that's when I started my healing process. And so just accepting, like if you're in a lot of pain right now, the best thing to do is accept it. Take care of yourself, try to eat well, start a gratitude practice, but your soul has a plan for your life. Like this is the best example that I got, that my soul has a plan for my life. Okay. So last summer, I started accepting that I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. There's a lot of videos on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. Also on my website. It's my next book. Then the second coming happened in September. And at the beginning of that enlightenment experience, soul connection with the Native Americans to heal like the manifest destiny wound. We killed the buffalo and all the, just things that Americans did to Native Americans. And a few months later, I swung back around on that. I'm like, oh, it's called the Shenandoah Promise, because I'm like, my mom always had two names for me. One is Kerry and one was Shenandoah. It's a Native American name. What does that mean? It means Great Plains or daughter of the stars. When I was in Israel in 1994, okay, I worked for the USO there, and I worked for AT&T. So I would go on the boats, like the destroyers and stuff. And at that
Mhm.
point, there's a destroyer called the USS Shenandoah. And the port of Israel is not always open. Like the US Navy doesn't always use it. So I happened to be in Israel at the time working for the USO, and I went on the USS Shenandoah that was only commissioned for 16 years. And all of those are synchronistic, pulling together. The second coming is the same thing as what the Hopi Native Americans call the Great Purification. Like it brought it all together for me 30 years ago, and I had no idea. But I was just, my soul has a plan, living my life, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and like
And,
my grandpa had a buffalo head because he was a hunter and a fly fisherman. Like, no, he loved game. Like he ate the buffalo meat and the deer meat, the venison and everything. And then my kids love buffalo. Like we live on the beach in Southern California. So their elementary school, their fifth grade trip was to Channel Islands Marine Institute, where they have a herd of bison, of buffalo that they brought there in the 1920s for a movie. And my son had all kind of pictures of the bison. He's got a little bison stuffed animal. Like, here I am, white girl to say it in Southern California, and my whole family's connected to buffalo. Like, how rare is that? Right.
yeah.
But that was my soul showing me myself. So now when I got to the right point, I'm like, oh, well, then there's that. And then there's that. And then that. So I've been living this life my whole life, but I just didn't know it. But okay, my soul has a plan.
Right. So I love that you just gave that story. And I love that you one of the things you said before you told that story is our connection, and the way we say things is different, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I say is purpose leaves clues, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even in my life, there are things that happen in my life, like in earlier years, and I'll give you this one story before we switch out. Things that happened in the earlier parts of my life that I never would have connected, but there was a reason why it happened then, and it showed up years later, right? So this story I tell all the time. When I was probably like 18, 19 years old, maybe even a little younger, maybe even been 17, but me and my cousin walked to the corner store in our neighborhood, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. We walked to this corner store to get whatever we were going to get, right? And so while we're in there, these two guys walk in. So they're adult men. They probably was like in their 40s or whatever at that time. One of them was a regular sized guy, 5'5", whatever. This other guy that was with him was almost like a football player. Like this guy was huge, right? Mm-hmm. And the big guy is crying. Like literally like crying. Now, mind you, these are two African-American guys. So first of all, we don't show our emotions like that too often. Definitely not in public. You know what I'm saying? So you got this adult man who's literally like bawling while he's walking, and the smaller guy is trying to console him, right? And so they come in the store, they're doing whatever. When we go to get in line at the cash register, they end up being right in front of us. So from their conversation, I can tell that it was a female who had passed away. I don't know if it was a sister, mother, I don't know, but I know it was a female that passed away. And like I said, the smaller guy is trying to console the bigger guy, and they're talking or whatever. And it's probably like 5 people in front of us, and the big guy just turns around and he takes his fist and he hits the top of the counter, right? And they're like one of those parts in the movie where everything stops. It was like that, he's like, boom, he hit the counter, it echoes throughout the store, everything stops, and everybody turns and looks, and he's like, I just want some cigarettes, right? And so everybody that was in front of us, like there was like 5 people in front of us, they just kind of like stepped back. Well, he got his cigarettes, and then him and the guy walked out the store. Now, I don't think I ever seen them guys before that day, and I know I haven't seen them since that day. Right. So mind you, this is when I'm like 17, 18 years old. But that story or that experience stayed in the back of my mind. Right. Fast forward years later, my mom passes away. And my mother-in-law passed away, and then my mom passed away. And so I find myself in a bereavement support group. Right. And I go to this bereavement support group and I love it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I did my time. Then I stayed for a year as a volunteer, right, with the program. And one of the things I recognized why I was there, that during that whole time I was there, there was only one African-American family that came through there, right, that took part in that program. And so that resonated with the fact that also at that time I was a minister. So I'm in church, so I'm seeing, we're having funerals and things like that. So I'm like, okay, number one, I know people are dying. You know what I mean? I know we're losing people, but yet we're not dealing with this emotion. And then that story came, that experience with the guy in the store came back years later. It's like, that guy, I remember that guy dealing with his emotions in public, and so what I did after that, I started a nonprofit called Ann Christine. My mother's name was Ann. My mother-in-law name was Christine. So I started a nonprofit called Ann Christine Charities doing bereavement support work.
Yeah.
Right. And so that memory, that experience, should I say, that happened in my teenage years, that was just a moment, you know what I mean, came all the way back full circle. Like, okay, African-American people need this work. They need this program to help deal with their emotions, just
Yeah.
like I needed it. And so that when I formed that, that was part of my purpose. But how many years was that? Like I said, that experience was probably like maybe 5 minutes, you know, of them walking into the store 20, 40 years ago. But it comes full circle to like, okay, this is why you experienced that. So that in this moment you can remember, oh yeah, that guy was dealing with it. You were dealing with it, your emotions. You notice that this other African Americans are not dealing with it, even though you know firsthand because you're having the funerals that they're, you know, that we're losing people. And so, yeah, I always say that purpose leaves clues. And so, like, it's like you said, different, but it's that same.
I love it. See, this is so encouraging, right? Like when we all like you know how to operate your soul, and you were a minister, right? And like the Christian church adds a lot of value, but you know, like everything, there's good and bad, and we just have to accept it, right? Yeah. Like, you know, so I had to look back at like, you know, well, why was Mary Magdalene made into a prostitute? You know, like one of the things my intuition told me in the fall of 2024 was that I was downloading Hoe to Housewife Trauma Healing. But this is okay. But who had I just reached out to? JC from my childhood. So I didn't even remember him. Like it was so painful for me. He's 2 years older. He was like ASB president, looked like Adonis, kid you not, like multiple sport varsity letterman. You know, he went to the Air Force Academy, MBA, like the guy everyone wants. And I wouldn't let him near me. And I was just afraid because I didn't remember what happened before, because I was just suppressed. Because I didn't, like, if my mom passed away as an alcoholic, that's why I never learned how to apologize until like 48, you know, because she passed away when I was 45. But then, you know, I started attracting these men into my life, men that I never dated, really rich men, tall men. My husband was my height, a boyfriend in college, my height, you know, men I can control, men who aren't more powerful than me. But then I started attracting in men like, you know, Justin Waller, Andrew Tate, two fire academy instructors, 164, 167, you know. And I think it was when I was talking in 2022, when I was talking to the first fire academy instructor, I found a picture of Jason in my high school yearbook. I was like, he used to stare at me. He used to stare at me all the time. I was 52 years old. I have not seen him since I was 15. But my lower back pain started when I was 15 and a half. So I haven't seen him since, like, you know, I turned 6. My birthday is June 25th, direct opposite of December 25th, another sign, right? So I guess I haven't seen him since right when I turned 16. But my lower back pain started screaming at me about 6 months before that, you know, and I stopped going to my dad's house. And my dad's house was a quarter mile from his dad's house. That I only found this out last year. I didn't remember where he lived. His dad was a surgeon. My dad didn't sleep at the house at night, so I was open and I wouldn't let him talk to me. Do you see the setup, you know? And so what was happening to him at his house, right? Winston Churchill. But, you know, when I turned around in 2024, he's the head of global security at GoDaddy, and then I got to come out as the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. I felt really safe. So, you know, he done his part. He took over the internet, the physical kind of network, and I've taken over the spiritual network, and there's the masculine, feminine mirroring. And, you know, I came into Justin's life 2 months before Andrew's takedown started, where he was canceled on social media in August of 2022. Jason got the job at GoDaddy in May of 2022. And I reached out to Justin in June of 2022. And there's always been like a masculine soul guiding me. And then, Andrew, I helped him one time, but he didn't come back for more help. I'm like, he needs more. I need to talk to that guy. Then he gets thrown in solitary confinement. And I spend 4 months in my garage in the dark in my recliner talking to his soul because I resonate with how isolated he felt in solitary confinement. My soul has a plan. My soul, my soul. And that's how I learned how to have compassion for myself. Like I had to really accept I have this much compassion for Andrew Tate, then I need to give at least as much compassion to myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it. So, Kerry, I want to thank you so much for being on and for sharing your story with us. I want you to have the last word, right? I want you to leave us with a word of advice, information, however you feel, so I want you to leave us a word of advice, word of information, and leave us with your social media handles and things of that nature, where we can find you and follow you. So I'll give you a quick second to think about that. To my listeners, guys, I want to also say we have started not only our Deal to Heal School for Living, but our Deal to Heal the World nonprofit, right? We have started the nonprofit arm of our podcast and of everything that we're doing because we want to do more. We want to do more. We want to do more in the world. We want to do more to help people to heal and to overcome. And so we have started our nonprofit Deal to Heal the World Incorporated. And so the link will be in the description. You guys can go there and find out more about the where you can find more information, where you'll be able to donate to our cause and to our nonprofit so that we can do more of the work that we love to do. Also, you guys, make sure you guys are also going to Deal to Heal, not Deal to Heal, but ebooks by ejames.com. Our ebooks are going away. Our ebooks are going away, or should I say, they're going away for purchase, because what we're going to do is going to put, which we already have done, but we're going to put the ebooks inside of our Deal to Heal School for Living. And so when you go there, you will be able to download the ebooks for free. But if you want to purchase them, they are still available right now at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. They are still available. Deal to Heal Tees, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. So you guys can go there and check out our inspirational t-shirts, including our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. There's one for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and there's also one for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Last but not least, over the last couple of years, I talked about a little earlier, I've been a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops bi-monthly. And we talk about everything surrounding forgiveness, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world. So you guys can go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission. Again, it's absolutely free, but the information is priceless. Definitely, you guys want to check that out. Again, that's the Deal to Heal, not Deal to Heal, that is Forgiveness Mission, forgivenessmission.com. You guys can go and check that out. And once again, make sure you guys go and check out our Deal to Heal School for Living. It is a great platform. It's free for the first 7 days, 7 days free. So when you guys can go and check it out, you can scan the QR code in the upper corner in order to take you right there. Make sure you guys go and check that out and give us your feedback. Let us know how you like it. What do you think about it? What do you think we could change or improve? But check that out for me. So again, that's the Deal to Heal School for Living. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Once again, Kerry, let me say again, thank you so much for being here. I definitely enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for sharing your. Oh, also, we forgot to talk about the book real quick. Tell us a little bit about the book before we get out of here.
Oh, my book. Okay, so I published my book last April. It is My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain, and I tell my healing journey story. There's 6 heroes in my book, and I'm the heart. And I share how I pulled all this wisdom out of my soul, how I experienced enlightenment for the first time. And it really ends in December of 2024, right after I faced my rape wounds and other wounds. So it's all in there.
All right, all right. And the link for the book will be in the descriptions, guys. So you guys can go, we'll be able to go and click it and to get that information. So, Kerry, again, I want you to have the last word. And so the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I encourage everyone to accept that you're a soul having a human experience, and accept that you are the only one who has sovereignty over your own soul. So please check out my free ebook, which teaches you how to operate your soul, how to program your soul to vibrate more often with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. And you'll see the physical benefits in your body immediately, because the healing process is really recalibrating your nervous system to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. And when your heart and your nervous system and your soul resonates at the higher frequencies, love, compassion, and enlightenment, that's how we create heaven on earth together. Thanks.
Right. All right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, make sure you guys check us out again. Stay connected. Make sure you're sharing it with somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. Let people know that the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast is on the air. And that will be it for us, you guys. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ernest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Ernest James.